This is the News 4 Rundown.
Just when you thought things couldn't get busier, it's been a long week. At least it is Friday. Welcome to the News 4 Rundown, everybody. I am Joseph Olmo. We begin tonight with what has been the talk of the town all week. President Trump's comments about D.C., his actions in D.C., and things heated up once again today. There he is in the Oval Office. The president called out Mayor Muriel Bowser here in D.C. and talked about the crime that he says is running rampant throughout the district. Take a listen.
I'm tired of listening to these people say how safe it was before we got here. It was unsafe. It was horrible. And Mayor Bowser better get her act straight or she won't be mayor very long, because we'll take it over with the federal government, run it like it's supposed to be run.
All right, we know all of you have a lot of questions about what is going on right now in our nation's capital. The News 4 I team spent the entire day making phone calls, taking a deeper look into what's happening and what could happen in the coming days. Here's Ted Oberg.
This is the latest time, but certainly not the first time that President Trump has suggested taking over all of D.C. He said it on camera there this afternoon, but just before 2 o'clock this morning, when most of us were not on Truth Social, he was. And this is what he said. Washington, D.C. is safe again. As bad as it sounds to say, there were no murders this week for the first time in memory. Mayor Muriel Bowser must immediately stop giving false and highly inaccurate crime figures, or bad things will happen, including a complete and total federal takeover of the city. Washington, D.C., the president tweeted or truthed out, will soon be great again. Look, it is true that crime is down since this takeover. It's not true that this is the first time D.C. went a week without a homicide. In memory, D.C. police statistics show D.C. went 16 days without a homicide just a couple months ago in February and March. But it's that takeover question that continues to come up here. We checked the archives. Remember, this is not the first time President Trump has threatened this.
We will restore and renovate our nation's once great cities, making them safe, clean, and beautiful again. And that includes our nation's capital, which is a horrible killing field. Right now, it's a rat-infested, graffiti-infested, and we're going to take it away from the mayor, make it absolutely flawlessly beautiful, and I think we should take over Washington, D.C. Either they're going to straighten their act out in the terms of government and in terms of protection, or we're going to have to federalize and run it the way it's supposed to be run.
It's not exactly clear what the president is threatening precisely. Getting rid of home rule, always one option. The congressional act that allows D.C. to govern itself with a mayor and council is just that. It's an act of Congress. So when Congress comes back next month, members could undo home rule. It would take 60 votes in the Senate and require the help of Democrats because of the filibuster, making it unlikely, not impossible. Trump could also reinstate a control board. That may be a little easier. Congress could do it as well, but again, 60 votes. And while it's never been tested, some experts, legal and D.C., think President Trump could reinstate the board by executive order. The control board was last used in the 1990s to get the city's financial house in order. Mayor Bowser said as recently as last week that the district has had a balanced budget for 30 straight years. So it's hard to argue D.C. is in financial crisis. But some D.C. experts we've spoken to say control boards aren't limited to just financial crises. It would give the president's appointees to that board total control of the city. It would be tested in courts probably right away, but the president these days seems willing to take his chance in the courts.
All right, that was our Ted Oberg there reporting. In his post on Truth Social this morning, President Trump once again talked about crime statistics here in D.C. Now, if you look at the mayor of D.C.'s feed on X, on Twitter, whatever you call it these days, at the very top, she has a post reminding D.C. residents that violence has never been lower in the past 30 years. She's got some graphs up there with crime stats. Now, you might remember earlier this week, the Department of Justice announced it is getting involved. The DOJ has launched an investigation into D.C. crime stats and whether or not they are accurate. So, for more context on all of this, Ted Oberg asked our own Paul Wagner to give us a look behind the scenes at the pressure that police leaders face and what's at stake in this Department of Justice probe.
You're going to see a big change in Washington crime stats very soon. Well, not the stats that they gave, because they turned out to be a total fraud. The real stats, the stats went through the roof. You know, they had a a man that was forced to put up stats like they were doing better. They're not doing better. Crime is the worst it's ever been.
Yes, I've heard stories that the chief puts tremendous pressure on her commanders on crime, and on not necessarily on crime stats, okay, but on crime. She wants the crime to go down.
Paul, a federal investigation like this could be incredibly serious. Do you have any idea why they're investigating? I mean, are they looking to charge someone? Are they looking to, remove the chief or senior leadership? I mean, what's the goal here?
I can't answer that question right now. I don't know what the goal is. The fact of the matter is this. Gregory Pemberton, the chairman of the union, has been pushing this for quite some time now. And he said that there could be criminal charges for doing things like this. And so if the U.S. Attorney's Office puts the resources in place to really dig into this, I mean, this could be an extensive investigation, questioning numerous officials and people within the police department.
Well, so let me switch gears slightly, Paul. What's it like when the president, from the podium at the White House and then on his Truth Social, starts talking about a story you broke?
It's pretty heady, I'll tell you that.
So it was tremendous reporting then, and it's standing the test of time now. I'm curious, help viewers understand, neither the president nor any of his staff members have called you, have they, to ask what you know?
Oh, no one has. No, I haven't gotten any calls from DOJ or the White House or anything, no. It's funny you ask that. I mean, no one's stroking your back saying, hey man, good job, here's a reward. No, that doesn't happen. No man, you gotta keep digging. You gotta keep calling people and hopefully you get the right person on the phone.
You got to keep digging, and that's what we do at Channel 4 every day. You can see Ted and Paul's full conversation streaming now on NBC Washington's YouTube channel. Look for the For More Context podcast playlist. And hey, while you're there, why don't you subscribe to our channel? We're always uploading stuff there. It may be Friday, but that did not slow down the headlines. We are following several big announcements from the Trump administration today that could impact your daily life. Here's a look at 4 things to know ahead of the weekend. National Guard troops deployed in D.C. amid Trump's crime emergency will now be allowed to carry weapons if the mission requires it. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth signed that order today. What prompted this change? Because they were originally unarmed? We don't know. The Defense Department didn't offer any other details. The news, though, comes as nearly 2,000 National Guard members have been stationed in the city. President Trump announced he is planning to request $2 billion from Congress to beautify Washington, D.C. It's part of his plan to clean up a city that he says was plagued by violent crime before he stepped in. Mr. Trump said his administration would improve light fixtures and roads near the Capitol and White House. He said he's going to have D.C. beautified within 12 months. The White House is showcasing some of the items they believe should be removed from Smithsonian museums. They include a photo of pride flags outside the American History Museum, a photo right here commissioned by the National Portrait Gallery of Dr. Anthony Fauci, and this exhibit at the American History Museum that depicts migrants watching July 4th fireworks through an opening in the U.S.-Mexico border wall. President Trump says the goal is to make the Smithsonian less woke. And some fun news for sports fans. The 2026 World Cup draw will be held at the Kennedy Center in Northwest D.C. President Trump made the announcement today alongside FIFA President Gianni Infantino in the Oval Office. The draw is going to happen on December 5th. The 2026 World Cup will feature 2 firsts. It'll be the first with 3 host countries in the U.S., Canada, and Mexico. And it will be the first to feature a 48-team field. All right, developing tonight. A major update in a case we've been following for months. Kilmar Abrego Garcia is no longer in federal custody and will soon be returning to Maryland. Abrego is the man who lives in Maryland who was mistakenly deported earlier this year to a mega prison in El Salvador. This video here, new today, shows him leaving a Tennessee jail where he was awaiting trial on 2 federal human smuggling charges. You can see him there in the button-down shirt and the jeans. News 4's Paul Wagner has been covering this story from the very beginning. He has reaction from Abrego Garcia's attorney and the Secretary of Homeland Security.
Well, good evening. I'm here in Beltsville where Kilmar Abrego Garcia was living back in March with his wife, Jennifer, and his 3 children. He's en route back here. He has 48 hours to get here, and he will be living with his brother at his home here in Beltsville. Let's show you some video of Abrego Garcia as he walked out of jail, a free man for the first time since last March. Abrego Garcia has to return to Maryland within 48 hours, as I mentioned. But his attorney in Nashville, who's representing him in his criminal case, tells News 4 his travel plans will be kept secret for security reasons. Until mid-March, Kilmar Abrego Garcia had been living in this Beltsville neighborhood with his wife, Jennifer, working as a sheet metal apprentice. Let's show you now a statement we just received from Kilmar's attorney here in Maryland, Simon Sandeville Motionberg. He says, for the first time since March, our client, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, is reunited with his loving family. While his release brings some relief, we all know that he is far from safe. ICE detention or deportation to an unknown third country still threaten to tear his family apart. A measure of justice has been done, but the government must stop pursuing actions that would once again separate this family. Now, it was back in mid-March, Kilmar Abrego Garcia was stopped by ICE agents not too far from here and taken into custody without a warrant. His little boy was in the car with him. He was first taken to Baltimore before being sent to Louisiana and finally Texas, where he was put on a plane and sent to El Salvador under the Alien Enemies Act. But when the news broke, ICE admitted it had been a mistake. The story went international, and the Supreme Court was asked to weigh in, issuing an order that he should be returned to the United States. But the Trump administration, in the words of Abrego Garcia's attorneys, dragged its feet, claiming it had no authority to order El Salvador to release him. Then in June, without any warning to his attorneys, Abrego Garcia was returned to the U.S., where he was indicted on human smuggling charges in Tennessee. Now, those charges still stand. There is a jury trial now scheduled for January, and so he is now supposed to be coming back here to Baltimore. He's supposed to check in, I should say, coming back here to Maryland, checking in with immigration in Baltimore, but then living here in Beltsville. Now, just a few minutes ago, the Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, tweeted that we will not, quoting now, we will not stop fighting till this Salvadoran man faces justice and is out of our country, and out is in bold letters. So she's not standing down, and I expect we'll probably hear from President Trump on this as well. That's the latest here from Beltsville. Now back into you.
Yeah, this story certainly isn't over quite yet. All right, thanks so much, Paul Wagner, for that report. Still to come tonight on the News 4 Rundown is President Trump's takeover of the D.C. police negatively impacting D.C. restaurants. The president sure doesn't think so, but after the break, we're going to hear from the president and CEO of the Restaurant Association of Metropolitan Washington on what he is hearing from local restaurant owners. He's going to be joining us live for that conversation. Stay with us, but first, we got to check in with Storm Team 4 Chief Meteorologist Doug Kammerer. Hey, Doug.
We saw a gorgeous Friday. You know, I like to call them fantastic Fridays. And now we're looking at a beautiful weekend. We'll talk about the weekend and some really nice temperatures coming up next week. See you back here in just a minute.
There's some good news for foodies tonight. The Restaurant Association of Metropolitan Washington is extending its Summer Restaurant Week through the end of the month. More than 160 restaurants say they will continue their Restaurant Week menus till August 31st. awesome menus, and even better prices. Now, it's also no secret that this year's Summer Restaurant Week is happening during President Trump's D.C. police takeover. So how are local restaurants dealing with all of this? I want to bring in the president and CEO of the Restaurant Association of Metropolitan Washington, Sean Townsend, in on the conversation. Sean, thanks so much for joining us, especially on a Friday night. I know it's been a busy week. You were traveling today, so thanks for taking some time.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Of course, of course. So we know that people here in the DMV love a good deal. But what was the main reason behind the extension of Restaurant Week? And has that happened before, where you've taken it from 1 week to 2 weeks?
Well, the last time we extended Restaurant Week was in the winter Restaurant Week, when the weather was bad, and so folks did not get the opportunity to get out like they normally do during Restaurant Week. For this month, we decided to extend it for a number of reasons. I'll start with the obvious one. We've seen the foot traffic hasn't been what we expected it to be. I think the increased police presence has some folks staying outside of DC, and that's what I'm hearing from our operators. Our numbers are down, reservations, and we wanted to give folks an opportunity to get out through the 31st and try again next week. And so we feel good about. I did hear from some operators, and they said that this week wasn't great, but it was okay, and that it was something that they can live with. However, what we do know about Summer Restaurant Week is that this is normally a boost. It's normally a lifeline for restaurants, and hopefully they can get an extra week as well.
I want to pause the conversation real quick. We have some of the president's remarks that he made this morning discussing the D.C. restaurant scene. Let's take a listen to that real quick.
But it's a whole different place. People are excited again. They're going out to restaurants again. That was the other thing I saw numbers. That restaurant business is down in the last week. No. Restaurant business, you can't get into a restaurant. Just really lying people. And that's why people don't understand how bad and how dishonest the press is. I saw one poll that had us at 19% favorable on what we're doing with Washington. Then I saw another one that has us 94% favorable. And I can tell you the 94% is correct.
There seems to be this discrepancy between what the president is saying, what's happening on the ground. So I want to ask you, what is happening on the ground? Are the numbers? Are there people coming to Restaurant Week, to restaurants during Restaurant Week in D.C.? What are you hearing from local restaurant owners?
Yeah, I'm certainly not going to get baited into a debate with the president of the United States. But what I'm hearing from my folks on the ground is that their numbers are down. And, it's expected that August is a slow month. However, the numbers that what we're seeing, the foot traffic, the reservations, is not like how it's been in previous August months of the year. And so they're down. I'm not sure, what operators are speaking out to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Like I said, there are some that are doing okay, but the majority of the folks that I speak to, they're hemorrhaging in August and hoping that Restaurant Week next week, the extension, gives them a boost that they very well need.
Any idea, are there particular neighborhoods where there are restaurants that are doing better than other neighborhoods, or is it just every restaurant is its own story?
I think it all depends on who you talk to and what part of the city you are asking this question. When you look at where the checkpoints are taking place, where we see increased police presence from the federal level, I think those things have an impact on whether or not we have more butts and seats in some of these restaurants. So I really think it all depends. What I have heard is that the further you get away from the Beltway, restaurants are thriving. Of course, that's outside of DC and Maryland and Virginia.
Right.
And we want to make sure that we continue to drive folks to our DC restaurants because it is safe. Okay, it's safe. As a Washingtonian, it is safe. Are we perfect? No, we're not. But I think we've made some great strides over the years, and we'll continue to do that.
What has it been like? What is the restaurant industry like What are owners feeling in 2025? What is it like running a restaurant in our nation's capital this year?
It's a lot. The mounting pressure, you've heard it, I'm sure. 44% at the beginning of this year said that they would close if nothing changed. We got a big policy win in July, and here we go into August. And so what folks need to understand is ever since the pandemic, we were one of the first industries to close and one of the last industries to open. And since then, we've never really found our footing. We've never got settled in. It costs more to operate a restaurant since the pandemic, and our folks are really struggling. We're trying to make it. Rent is an issue. Labor is an issue. Supply chain. I mean, just all of these factors, and it makes it really challenging to operate a restaurant.
Well, yeah, thank you. I hope that at the very least, these awesome 3-course menu prices, as low as $25 for brunch or lunch and $40 for dinner at some of the hottest restaurants in town. I hope that that's enough to entice people to come out and give these restaurants the business they so desperately need. Sean Townsend, the president and CEO of the Restaurant Association of Metropolitan Washington, thank you so much for joining us again on a Friday night, sir. All right, we want to toss it over to Storm Team 4 meteorologist, Chief Meteorologist Doug Kammerer with a check on this weekend's forecast. Hey, Doug.
Oh, what a gorgeous evening across the area after what was a fantastic Friday. Now we got a fantastic Friday night across our area. And nothing but sunshine as the sun making its way down tonight at 7:53. So that sun setting earlier and earlier now as we get closer towards the end of summer, but still feeling like summer today with a high temperature of 85. Right now, 79 degrees. Dew point in the 50s. It dropped into the 40s today. That is a very dry atmosphere, and that means no heat index at all across our region. Temperature-wise right now, we're at 81 in Hagerstown, 81 in Leesburg, 77 in Manassas, and 80 degrees in Fredericksburg. A gorgeous evening all around, and that leads to a really nice weekend, too. Storm Team 4 radar, nothing to show. We don't have any rain chances at all for the day tomorrow. Sunday, a slight chance of a shower. We're going to be tracking a cold front moving our direction, but it's not going to bring us much, and most of us should remain on the dry side. Dry today as Hurricane Aaron moved out to sea very, very quickly. You can't even see the cloud cover anywhere near our region. You got to go way out to the north and east to see where Aaron is right now. Hurricane Aaron, as of the 5 o'clock advisory, had winds of 90 miles per hour, a Category 1 hurricane still, and making its way to the north and east very rapidly, really moving out. And what it did was just clear us out and bring us that nice air we saw across the area today. I mentioned that cold front. There it is back towards the west. That will come in during the day on Sunday. So we will see a chance of a shower, but for the most part, a nice summer weekend ahead. Tomorrow, this is nothing but sunshine. Again, a beautiful Saturday. Saturday night's looking great. A few high clouds from a system that's farther down to the south. But for us, we're not going to see anything from that system. What we will see on Sunday, there's the front coming our way. This is 8 a.m. on Sunday. Could see some showers as this tries to move across our region. But once again, most of your Sunday is just fine. And most of us will not see any rain chances, so we're looking good there, too, as you make your way through the weekend. Tomorrow's forecast for your Saturday, 84 degrees, sunny skies, low humidity, just about as perfect as a Saturday gets around our area. Sunday looking good, too, a high of 85. There's that 30% chance of an afternoon shower. 84 on Monday, 79 on Tuesday. And get this, 78 on Wednesday. That's nearly 10 degrees below average. Overnight lows will be in the 50s for most of you, 60 degrees in the city. And then as we make our way towards next weekend, which happens to be Labor Day weekend, we're seeing temperatures into the low 80s, chance of showers and storms on Sunday and Monday. But I don't think it'll ruin any Labor Day plans. I think they're looking pretty good as we make our way through Labor Day week. I just can't believe that we're already there.
Can we just pause for a second? Did you say overnight lows in the 50s?
I think some areas could be in the upper 40s. Yeah. It's gonna feel great out there.
Oh my goodness, that's a taste of fall, maybe even a taste of winter as well.
Enjoy it.
By the way, real quick before we go, I just got to say, since we're talking about 50s, 1-5, congratulations on 15 years, dude, at News 4.
15 years.
You
Goes
said
like that.
You grew up watching Jim Vance and Dorian Gensler.
Yeah.
I grew up watching you.
I know. See that? So true.
Full circle, ladies and gentlemen.
15 years ago. How old were you? All right, we'll be right back.
See you guys. Well, that is all the time we have on this Friday night. It's been a pleasure to spend a couple minutes with you guys. We're back tonight, News 4 at 11. For now, I'm Joseph Olmo. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody.